Peace and blessings. Welcome to my channel. My name is Taj Yutsi, and I am a certified financial coach and the founder of True Financial Coaching. I wanted to come on today with another video, and this video is my final sabbatical update. As I mentioned in previous videos, I am a school teacher, and last year I decided that I would take a sabbatical, which is a leave of absence. And the sabbatical has been on for 14, 15 months that I just had time just to take off for myself and for some other reasons. But again, prior to me taking the sabbatical, I just felt as though I needed a change. Not necessarily from teaching, but maybe just the subject that I was teaching. I'm a math teacher, 7th grade math. And just getting tired of some things, like I said before, the politics of the educational system, the lack of relevant information that's being taught to our children, some other things that I, just witnessed throughout my years of teaching. But a lot of it also was just for me, just to have that time to do what I want when I want it to do. And when I took the sabbatical, my mindset was to have time to be more available for, the church, travel with, for the work of the ministry that I'm a part of. And also for my mother, who was sick at the time with COPD, emphysema, what is it? Yeah, the pulmonary obstructive pulmonary disease, whatever, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, whatever, obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. But just wanted to be there as far as with her, support emotionally, also to help her, take her back and forth to, her appointments and just do things for her. Other reasons took it were just more personal, far as well, internally, just to have me time to think about what I wanted to do going forward. So it's like this sabbatical has been almost like a pruning. When you prune a tree, you cut it down, but then it grows, it flourishes more after the pruning of the tree. So that's what this sabbatical in my mind was for. But like I said, this time that I had off, I did a couple of previous sabbatical videos, but again, this is my final one because I go back to work on Tuesday, August 20th. And today is Saturday, August 17th. But this sabbatical has just, it changed my whole perspective about things as far as working. And I'm saying, it changed my whole perspective about the time in my life. I always knew how important time was, but this sabbatical has really deepened my perspective and my understanding of time. Being a school teacher for 24 years, something I really enjoyed. Impacting the lives of young people And not just so much with the knowledge that you're teaching, but, just the relationships, interacting with children. Please forgive me. This video is a tough video for me to make, but like I said, I've been teaching for 24 years, and the students that I interacted with, some of them are older now, and some, I was actually just recently talking to a young man that knows one of the students. He's related to one of the students I taught, and he said that, his cousin that I taught still talks about me. And it's like, wow. So that's what I mean by it's more than just the knowledge that you're sharing with these students, but it's the relationships, the impressions that you leave on them. But this time off has really showed me that it's time for me to move on from teaching and do other things for myself, for my family, for my church family, to help people in other ways. But like I said, this sabbatical has been life-changing for me. And I will encourage everyone that is able to take a sabbatical if you can, because it's life-changing. I know I got to go back on Tuesday, like I said, to work. But I'm not going to fit in, because I have experienced this freedom of owning the time of my life to be able to do what I want whenever I want to do it. And like I said in the last video I made about fears, and about fear, and it's Les Brown that I got that from, fear. And he said, false evidence appearing real. And one has to really overcome that fear, as I said in the last video, of the false sense of security that a job offers. And this sabbatical has really helped me to really see what it is I want to do with my time and my life, as far as from natural. Because like I said, I am a minister in the church that I attend. And just being able to have that freedom to travel around the country and around the world freely without having to worry about being back in time for work, worrying about having a flight delay and missing work. I didn't have that worries. I was free, in that perspective. And that's what, owning the time of your life does. It provides you with more choices, more liberty and flexibility to do things that you want to do, instead of being tied to a job. And as I often say, debt ties us to a job. It's one of the things that ties us to, and I wouldn't have been able to do this if I had a whole lot of debt. And that's what I had to do. I had to get out of debt, created a plan, got out of debt, stuck to the plan. I executed it. Yeah, I had my setbacks during the midst of that, but you stick with it. Because on the other side, something greater. And that's what I learned about, fear, A lot of times, people are afraid of fear. Like I said, it was said, one man said in history, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. And I've learned not to run from fear, but to run to fear. Because whatever it is that you're afraid, that putting that emotion in you of fear, if you overcome that hurdle, there's something greater on the other side. And, is it fearful to just leave a profession that you've been doing for half your life? Yes, that's fearful. But I know there's something greater on the other side. But again, this sabbatical has helped me realize even more the importance of time. Recently, I lost my mother. And like I said, one of the reasons I took this sabbatical, and I knew it going into, but I wanted to spend more time with my mother during this year off that I had. And like I said, a lot of fasting and prayer, and even when I fast and I write down what I'm fasting for, I kind of, do a journal. And I was asking the Lord to, please grant me this sabbatical so that one of the reasons was so I can be there more with my mother. And the Lord blessed me to be able to take this sabbatical. And 5 years ago, my mother retired. And a year after she retired, she was diagnosed with the COPD. And then 4 years later, she was gone. She's gone. Today she's gone, And I'm thankful that God blessed me to have this sabbatical this year off to spend that time with my mother, because I didn't think she would be gone just before I go on my sabbatical. Didn't think that. That didn't cross my mind. You know what I mean? Like, I knew she was sick, sickly. But it didn't cross my mind that she wouldn't be here. I'm making this video before I would go back to work. That didn't cross my mind. But I'm thankful that I had the time off to be able to spend with her. And if I didn't have this time off, I would not have been able to spend as much time as I did with her in her final year. I wouldn't have been able to, because I would have been working. Work would have taken up most of my time, and I couldn't have been there like I wanted to, or like I was, during this time. But one thing she said to me, not too long ago, was that this is the year I got to spend with my Taj. And that thing touched me, because I knew that God blessed me to have this time off, because He knew what was going to happen. He already knew that she wouldn't be here. But He was just so kind to me and to her to allow us to spend this last year together. And this just really puts things in perspective. And I'm not saying to anybody, quit your job today. I'm not saying that. I would never tell you to do that, because you have your own journey. But I know with my journey, I know my journey that the time, it's time for me to move on. And originally it was already my plan, even on the sabbatical, I said 1 to 3 years, that I would do more time of teaching, but then after that I'm done. But, it may be sooner. It may be sooner. And, just thinking about when my mother, she retired 5 years ago after working like more than half her life, and you only get 5 years to enjoy your retirement. And 4 of those 5 years, you spent battling the sickness. And one thing she would say to me is that, she would say repeatedly, I never imagined my retirement to be like this. And this is what I'm talking about. We spend all our days, years, working for somebody else. For them to tell us when we can have time off, which I never understood, because the job gives me time. In most jobs, they give you time off, but then you got to put a request in for that time. Then they got to approve time that you want off, that they gave you. And then they can tell you yay or nay. That's somebody dictating the time in our lives. And people don't realize it because it's so common. But because a thing is common, it don't make it normal. People scared to take days off because of fear of the consequences. As a teacher, they give you time off, sick days and personal days, and you get penalized for getting sick. I never understood that. They have a system in place where they penalize you after a certain amount of occurrences. You get a warning, and then you get a letter, then you have to have a meeting, and then you have to have another meeting, all because they give you time. All because you're using the time that they give you. And that's what I mean about people owning your time and dictating your time. And like I said, this sabbatical has let me see, gave me a taste of what it feels like to own the time in my life and not have somebody dictate my time, not have somebody tell me when I can take a break and for how long. Not have somebody dictate, how long my lunch breaks got to be. I remember having to walk, take the class down to lunch and rush off to try to get something to eat, have to hurry up looking at the time on my clock to make sure I get back. You know what I mean? Times where I went out to eat and the order was, ran a little behind, but I'm having to oh man, rushing, I'm panicking, not necessarily panicking, but like that anxious feeling like I'm gonna be late. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. You get a 30-minute lunch break, 30 minutes, not even an hour, 30-minute lunch break, 30-minute lunch break. By the time you walk to where you want to go, sit down, that's another 5 minutes, that's 5-7 minutes. What place your order or eat, if you bring your own lunch, whatever, then you got to walk back to where you got, so right there, you're like 20 minutes, 15 minutes maybe. Got to go to the bathroom in the middle of class. I got to call somebody to come cover my class, and they might take a while. Tell me I can't even go to the bathroom. That's somebody dictating your time, but we don't see it like that. We don't see it like that. Why? Because it's so common that we've accepted it. get 1 week's vacation. You work all year, you get 1 week vacation time, 10 days, 7 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days out of 365. But, you know, we accept it. Why? Because we've been programmed. And like I said in another video, the program started at an early age in the school. That's why the school week mirrors the work week. They mirror one another. Train kids. Train them. But like I said, the sabbatical, man, has changed my whole perspective. And with my mom's, she worked 5, she had off for 5, you know, retired 5 years ago. Worked maybe 30 years, whatever, however long. And now, you know what I mean, you spend all the time working, now you're going after 5 years of retirement. And I know a lot of people, well, not a lot, I know a handful of several people that have done the same thing. I know one guy I had worked maybe 25, 30 years in teaching. Same year he retired, he was gone in like a matter of months, 2-3 months. Work all those years you spend working, and you can't even really enjoy your retirement. You know, one lady I worked with, years of teaching. Retired, maybe within 3-4 years she was gone. That's what I'm saying, man. Grandmother, same thing, retired, maybe within 2 years, gone. And I think, me personally, I think it's because people work so long and work so much, their job now becomes their identity. Their job becomes their identity, where they associate who they are with their job. And I guarantee you, if you ask people, who are you? And many of them are going to associate who they are with what they do. Who are you? I'm a teacher. That's not who you are. Who are you? I'm a lawyer. That's not who you are. Who are you? People don't know who they are. But when you ask them, they always associate who they are with their job. And that's what I mean, like, that's not who you are, that's what you do. Because who are you after you leave that job? Who are you when you retire? And I guarantee you, when you ask people that are retired, like, you ask them the same question, who are you? I'm a retired teacher. See? They associate who they are with a job. So when they do retire, not in every case, but when they do retire, you can see they begin to decline mentally, emotionally. Why? Because they have centered their lives around a job. So then when they retire, they don't know what to do with all that time. Because remember, that's 8 hours a day. That's 40 days a week, 40 hours a week that they was spending at a place, at a job. So now that's 1/3 of your day. 1/3 of your day. So now, when you don't have that job, you don't retire, it's like, what do I do? Then you begin to feel empty. Then you begin to sink into a dark place because you associated yourself, you identified yourself with what you do. And then that void becomes bigger and that darkness becomes thicker. And then it takes you over. Then you hit a state of depression. Then you begin to deteriorate mentally, emotionally, and then the deterioration internally with the mind and the spirit, the heart, the emotions now eat your body up. Takes you over physically. Then you replace that time that you don't have at your job with doing other things that's not beneficial or profitable to you. And then you begin to die physically because you're already dying mentally and emotionally. And I'm telling you, I'm saying this because I witnessed it. I witnessed it. And it's not for everybody. It's not everybody. But I'm telling you, a majority of the people, I can't say a majority, but there are people out there that, because they done associated themselves with their job, and then they retire, or, you know what I mean, within years they dead. I don't want to be like that. I know teachers that I work with, they say I'm not retiring because what I do, what I'm going to do. What you mean what you going to do? You can do whatever you want to do. You have the time in your life to do whatever you want to do. I was talking to somebody recently, a relative of mine. He said the same thing. I ain't never retiring. What I'm going to do? What you mean what you going to do? I did whatever I wanted to do on the sabbatical. If I wanted, I woke up early because that's what I wanted to do. I didn't wake up to an alarm clock. I woke up early because that's what I wanted to do. Sat on the steps, sat on my stoop or whatever you want to call it, sat out front. Read, worked out, went to the park, could go to lunch whenever I wanted to do, take trips, you know, do day trips. And another thing, like, I didn't even do a lot of taking of trips outside of church because I didn't want to have that feeling of thinking that I'm feeling good about this because I have to go somewhere. Nah, let me just stay at home and just do whatever I want. And I still felt good. Why? Because I had that freedom. And as I often say, I couldn't have tasted that freedom of a sabbatical, of having the time of my life if I had debt. Because I'll be worrying about debt, paying these bills, but I ain't have that to worry about. And on the sabbatical, I was getting half pay. But life is not expensive, yo. Life is not expensive. We make it expensive because a lot of things, our decisions we make. With financing, depreciating objects. We're buying things to try to impress people that we don't know. And as a result, we take on debt, we make poor financial decisions with our money. And that's what makes life feel expensive. But life is not expensive. And you know what kind of helped me to see more and more of this is that when I went to Africa. Back in August of 2023, when I first, one of the first early parts of my sabbatical. And what's funny is I'm in Africa, helping doing the work of the Lord with the church I attend. And I was supposed to be at work. Like, work had started like that same week. And here I'm in Africa, not even thinking of, like, yo, that's beautiful. I'm telling you, man, this freedom is nothing like it. But naturally. I say that because, spiritually, nothing is equal to God. But from a natural perspective, owning the time of my life, it's beautiful. But yeah, so getting back to that thought, like what made me realize this, that life is not expensive. Not only getting out of debt and seeing it first on myself in my own life, but going to Africa and seeing how people live with so little. They live with so little, but they were so content, so happy, man. I go to villages and see people with, dirt floors, no shoes. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying all Africa is like that, but the area that I went in, you see a lot of that, but the people were so happy. They were so happy, so content. And even the scripture says godliness with contentment is great gain, and it's true. Just be content with what we have. But the thing is, here in, U.S., not just in the U.S., but other countries as well, capitalist society. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with capitalism, but what I'm saying is people have this mindset of trying to keep up with everybody else. And a large contributing factor to that is the media, social media, different television networks always airing commercials about different products to buy, and showing how people are so happy with a new car, but they don't show you how they're sitting at the table with the mounds of bills, wondering how I'm gonna keep up with this car payment. They don't show that aspect of it. But going to Africa, when I, really deepened my perspective, about being, not needing much, And I was already, like I said, I always like that. I never was the type that really needed a whole lot. But that really also was a change of a paradigm shift, as they say. But yeah, this time off has been life-changing. It's been life-changing. And going back to the 40-hour work week, as I said in one of my videos, that's another program. Who made up that? And I looked it up, some things up on it, but it's just a program. And me going back to it, I'm not gonna fit in it. Going back, seeing things that I know is wrong, hearing things, people talk about things, it's like, I'm not gonna be able to fit in. And, somebody said, well, once you go back, you'll get in the swing of things. Nope. You know why? Because I already tasted this freedom. I already tasted what it is to own the time of my life. I already tasted it. So I can never fit back in. I'm just going there and do my job and go home. And that's another thing. People spend so much time at work, man. They develop these titles like work wife and work husband. That's what I'm like. That's crazy, man. That's how a lot of affairs begin at work, because you're spending so much time there. People get all emotional about a job. It's just a job, man. Just a tool. Just like a hammer. I don't get emotional about a hammer. I don't get emotional about a screwdriver. Why? Because it's a tool. I use it I use it for what I need it for. And that's how it is with a job. Don't get emotional about a job. Just use it for what you need it for. To do what? Get out of debt, build wealth. That's it. I mean, yeah, you want to be passionate about what you're doing. I'm not saying, I'm not saying that. You want to find something you're passionate about and enjoy doing, where it don't feel like work. It just, where you would just do it for free. And like I said, I feel that way about teaching. But the educational system in America is a failing system. It's a failure. So yeah, you find something you're passionate about. Yeah, you enjoy it. You love it. But at the same hand, you got to keep it in its proper perspective of what it really is. Where I'm not so emotionally attached to it. Where I'm scared to lose it at the price of my freedom. Like I said, I love teaching. I love seeing the expressions on children's faces when they understand something that they didn't. I love seeing that process of development and growth. I love it. But the system itself is a failure. It's a failure as a whole. There's some good teachers, that care, that work, do what they gotta do, but there's a whole lot of teachers, they don't care, man. They just there to collect the check. And like I said, and this is what I'm saying about the balance. You want to be passionate about what you're doing, have integrity in what you're doing. But at the same time, your job is a tool, use it for what it is. But if you're just there and you don't care, then the children, they're going to pick up on that. They're going to sense that. And that's what I'm saying. Like the young man, I taught this guy back in maybe 11 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, probably. I think like 10, 11, maybe 12 years ago. And he's still his cousin. I saw his cousin. He was like, man, so my cousin still talk about you, man. You know what I mean? And he speak highly of you. And he said a lot of people that he run into that know me or I taught, they speak highly of you. And it's not that I'm such a fabulous teacher. You know what I mean? You got teachers that are very knowledgeable, but they lack that element of how to interact, how to treat people, how to treat children. Because a lot of times, a lot of teachers, they talk down to kids. Can't do that, man. Talk down to them. And then you wonder why they shut down. Kids, they may be young, but they have some wisdom also. But that's another, but yeah, like I said, man, I enjoy teaching, love, but the system as a whole is a failure. And that's why I feel as though it's time for me to move on. The sabbatical has definitely helped to speed up this process of me moving on. You can't be afraid. Like I hear people say, well, what about health insurance? That's a fear. And what I learned is that when people say stuff, and this is why you can't tell everybody what you want to do. You can't tell everybody what you want to do. Because then they say, well, what about health insurance? What about this? What you going to do? See, what I learned is when people say things like that, they're projecting their fears upon you. That's what they're trying to do, project their fears upon you. If that's your fear, that's your fear. That's not my fear. You know what I mean? That's not my fear. And I'm not going to allow somebody to project their fears upon me to keep me from doing something that I strongly desire to do. Because again, fear, false evidence appearing real. What about health insurance? What you going to do if something happens? What if nothing happens? What about the flip side? What if nothing happens? That's the false evidence appearing real. You know what I mean? It's like when you in your room at night and it looks like somebody's sitting in a corner. It looks like somebody's sitting in a corner, and you become afraid, when you was younger. But then, when you get up, turn on the light, oh, it's just a pile of clothes. What was that? False evidence appearing real to make you feel something that wasn't there. It was just a fear, but it was false evidence, but it appeared real. All it was a pile of clothes. But here you think it's somebody looking at you, sitting in a corner, and you covering it up over the blanket, under the blanket, because you're afraid. And all in actuality, it was just clothes. There's nothing to be afraid of. And this is what I'm saying about wanting to do things for yourself in your life. People will project their fears upon you when in actuality, it's nothing to be afraid of. And like I said, what I learned is when you run, when there's fear, when something is bringing a fear in your life, that's a sign to let me know there's something greater on the other side. There's something greater on the other side. It's like with the children of Israel. God promised them a land flowing with milk and honey. Spies were sent out, people were sent out to spy out the land. 10 of them came back with an evil report, talking about how the people were like giants. You know what I mean? And like in their sight were grasshoppers. Out of it was 12, I believe, if I'm correct, 12 that went out to spy out the land. 10 of them came back with an evil report. But only 2 said, no, man, like, they're bred for us. This is the land that God promised. 2 out of the 12 had a good report. 10 out of 12 had an evil report. Why? False evidence appearing real. They saw the size of the people and they became afraid. This is after the promise was already made that they would go in the land flowing with milk and honey. But still they had that fear. So the fear kept them from receiving that great reward, showing us also that the majority of people won't move because of fear. They won't move because of fear. I don't want to be one of those people looking back saying, what if? What if? Had I not taken that sabbatical because of fear of how I'm going to take care of my expenses, I wouldn't have got to spend this time with my mom before she passed, this year with my mom. Wouldn't have got to travel for the church to do what I mean? Wouldn't have got to be able to wake up and just do whatever I wanted to do. Had I not overcome that hurdle of fear, of wondering about how am I going to manage with half income. You got to overcome that. You got to overcome that fear. But again, this sabbatical has been life-changing, and I'm thankful for the time that I had to, do what I want when I want, and not have somebody dictate the time of my life. But going back, I'll keep y'all updated what it's like going back. But I already know I'm not going to be able to fit in, and I don't know how much time, God willing, I have remaining in my life, but I do know I don't want somebody dictating that time. I don't want a job dictating that time. And I'm not. This is just me. You got to make the decision yourself as to what you want to do with your time, because tomorrow's not promised to any of us. And like I said in the last video I made, life is short. Life is so short. And I don't want to spend my time, I don't want to have my time being dictated by a job. So, if you're ready to get off the rat wheel and you're ready to own the time of your life, come see me at truththinkcoaching.com. Schedule your consultation and we can discuss, see what we can do to help you create a plan take back the time of your life. Peace and blessings.